You know that feeling, right? You walk out of an interview, the door clicks shut, and instantly your brain goes, ugh, I could have done better. We have all been there. But what if? What if you could walk out every single time feeling like you absolutely crushed it? Well, today, we're going to unpack the exact framework to make that your new reality.
See, you can picture the two types of people in an interview. On one hand, you've got the anxious applicant, just really hoping they say all the right things. But on the other, you have the confident leader. They walk in, and in a way, they actually lead the conversation. The gap between them? It's not just about experience, it's a strategy, and it's one you can learn.
So if you're ready to say goodbye to that could-have-done-better feeling forever, you're in the right place. We're about to walk through a 5-step framework that changes the game. And listen, this has nothing to do with memorizing answers. It's about completely transforming your approach, using the exact same playbook top executives use to win.
All right, step 1. And this is by far the most important. Before you ever think about what you're going to say, you have to master your mindset. This is the foundation for everything else. Most people get this backward. They prep their answers first. Winners, they prep their mind.
It really boils down to two big ideas. First, you've got to adopt a growth mindset. That's the core belief that your skills aren't fixed, they can be learned and developed. So instead of wondering, am I good enough, you're thinking, this is a great chance to learn. Second, you have to activate your emotional intelligence, your EI. This is all about being self-aware, knowing how to handle your nerves, and, crucially, being able to read the room.
So how do you manage those nerves? Well, there's this amazing psychological trick called cognitive reframing. It's basically a Jedi mind trick you play on yourself to turn all that stressful energy into something powerful and positive.
And here's how you do it. Think about it. The physical feelings of being anxious, your heart beating fast, maybe your palms get a little sweaty, are exactly the same as the feelings of being excited. So the next time you feel that, don't label it anxiety. You're just going to reframe it. Tell yourself, I'm excited. It sounds simple, but that little switch changes everything.
And you want to know the best part? When you walk in feeling excited, feeling confident, studies show that your answers are perceived as being about 20% more intelligent. It's not that the words change, it's that your delivery, your clarity, your entire presence goes through the roof. Your mindset literally makes you sound smarter.
Okay, with that confident mindset locked in, it's time for step 2, research. And I'm not talking about just glancing at the company's About Us page 5 minutes before the call. No. We're talking about deep, strategic research that makes you look less like a candidate and more like a consultant.
See, top execs use strategic frameworks to understand a business. You can use them too. There are tools like VUCA, that's for understanding the immediate market chaos, the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Or PESTLE, which helps you see the bigger picture trends, political, economic, social, and so on. This is how you go from applicant to strategic partner before you even say hello.
And when you do this kind of homework, your answers completely transform. Instead of something generic, you can say something laser-focused like this. This statement doesn't just say you've read their website. It says you understand their specific challenges and you've already started brainstorming solutions. That is a total game changer.
So you've got the mindset, you've got the insights. Now for step 3. This is where you bring it all home with storytelling. You see, leaders don't just spit out dry facts and figures. They tell memorable stories that prove their impact.
Now, the gold standard for doing this is a simple little framework called the STAR method. It's just a 4-step recipe for a perfect story. You start with a situation to set the scene. Then you explain the task, what you needed to accomplish. Next comes the action, what you specifically did. And you always end with the measurable result.
So here's what that sounds like in real life. The situation was our branch had really low card sales. My task was to turn that around. The action I took was to launch a fun team challenge focused on peer-to-peer coaching. And the result? In just 3 months, we hit 140% of our sales target. Boom. Clear, confident, and full of impact.
And if you really want to level up, you can add some advanced layers to your story. You could casually mention using something like the GROW model to structure your coaching, or how the Kaizen principle guided your approach. Little details like that show you're not just a doer, you're a strategic thinker who builds better systems.
All right, you've got your stories ready to go. But now we need to talk about step 4, which is all about your delivery. Because in an interview, how you say something can be way more powerful than what you say. It's all about communicating with presence. One of my favorite tools for this is the SCARF model. It's based on neuroscience, and it's all about how to connect with people on a fundamental level. It stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. When you talk in a way that makes the other person feel respected and understood in these areas, you build instant rapport. It's incredibly powerful. And here's the science that proves why presence is so crucial. You might have heard of Mehrabian's rule. It breaks down how we communicate, and the numbers are just staggering. 55% of your impact comes from your body language, 38% from your tone of voice, and the actual words you use, a tiny 7%. Isn't that wild?
So what do you do with that information? Well, it means focusing on the simple stuff. Sit up straight, it projects confidence. Offer a genuine, natural smile. Make a conscious effort to speak just a little bit slower than you normally would. It conveys authority and calm. And maybe the most important thing of all, listen. Truly, deeply listen. It's the strongest communication tool there is.
And that leads us to our final step, number 5, which ties everything together. It's all about perfecting your presentation. Think of this as your personal brand in action, because the interview starts the moment you walk in the building, not when the first question is asked.
There's a well-known psychological bias at play here called the primacy effect. Basically, it just means our brains give way more importance to the first piece of information we get about something. That's why first impressions aren't just important, they often create the lens through which the entire rest of the interview is viewed.
So let's make sure that first impression is flawless. Here's a quick checklist. Dress sharp, no exceptions. Plan to get there about 20 minutes early so you can just relax and get centered. Have a nice, calm, firm handshake. Make sure your documents are neat and organized, and just project this quiet, assured energy that says, I belong here.
So there you have it, the whole system. Let's do a quick recap. It all starts with your mindset, using things like growth mindset and emotional intelligence. From there, you do your strategic research with frameworks like VUCA and PESTLE. You prepare your storytelling using the STAR method. Then you focus on your communication, keeping Scarf and Mehrabian's rule in mind. And you cap it all off by perfecting your presentation and managing that first impression.
And you know, when you put all of these pieces together, something really fundamental shifts. You start to realize that an interview isn't a test. It's not about trying to prove your worth to someone. It becomes an opportunity, a stage for you to simply show them the incredible leader you already are. This whole framework is designed to give you the tools to stop just attending interviews and start leading them. So really, the only question left to ask is, are you ready to walk into that room and show them?